100% bodybuilding saved my life, because training is a form of stress, you know, and living a healthy lifestyle, that ultimately is what saved me. My body was able to hold on, you know, for them 2 weeks unbeknown, being in heart failure, until they, you know, they got me and they could operate on me. So, you know, that's definitely food for thought for people.
Neil, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today. Obviously a very interesting story. Before we get too much onto that, I just want to take it back to sort of the start and your interest in sort of training and fitness. Has it been something with you since a young age? When can you remember first sort of getting into training?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, always sport's been a really big part of my life. So at a young age, martial arts, massive Bruce Lee fan. So it was always, I was very good at karate. That was like sort of my first love. Then I went into kickboxing, and then through school, it was not the conventional sports. Like rugby-wise, I was a winger. I was very fast, but I just never conformed to like football or rugby. For me, through school, I was captain of the gymnastics team. I know a lot of people wouldn't realise that, me doing gymnastics, but I was very good. I represented West Glamorgan 3 times, captain of the gymnastics team, captain of the basketball team. Another big love of mine is basketball, Michael Jordan, one of my idols, and I done that sort of predominantly through school. And then leaving school, sort of dabbled a bit in powerlifting, won the Welsh bench press record, British bench press record, and then this just wasn't for me. Always been obsessed with like muscles, and from a young age, like Arnold, and I had a big commando posted above my bed as a young age, and yeah, and then decided then to enter bodybuilding as my first show, the BNBF, Natural Bodybuilding Federation, and that was my first show in 2004. So that was like the first leap. Obviously didn't have a clue what I was doing. I think that first show, I think carbon up wise for the show, I think I had a jacket potato every hour from waking up to going to bed for the first day. And then the second day was like every 2 hours, so paid off, won the first show, and then qualified to the natural finals in Scotland in 2004. So that sort of kick-started it all off.
My girlfriend would love that as well, because she's a massive Bruce Lee fan.
Oh.
Her nickname is Bruce.
Oh,
people call her Bruce.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because she used to do karate.
Even to this day, you know, even though I haven't done martial arts since I was like, you know, probably 9-10 years of age, he is still like my idols through life will never change. There's 4 of them, and he will always remain like my number 1 idol. Love him.
And in terms of training, obviously, the start of the new year now, January is normally the time of the year everyone wants to get fit, get in shape, that everyone's getting in the gym. But how important do you think is keeping that sort of healthy mindset long term for someone's future?
Yeah, I don't believe in short-term gratification. I don't believe in people getting in shape for a wedding, getting in shape for a holiday. You know, the one thing that carries you through life, this vessel, you should always look after it. If you look after your physique and your health, it will look after you. And it blows my mind how people, you know, blatantly go through life thinking that this physique is just going to carry you to the end of time without no problems, and it absolutely ain't. You know, and I think life throws curveballs at you, as everyone knows, and people know what happened to me going to the dentist. Nearly ended my life, but what saved my life is what I do every single day. You reap what you sow, and I think health is so important. You know, you wouldn't not service your car. At some point, something's going to go, something's going to break, something needs servicing. You should look at your physique like that, you know, and look after it, because it will always look after you.
And obviously training's always been a massive part of your life, but can you remember when you sort of went from it being a hobby or something you enjoy to that competitive aspect with bodybuilding? Yeah,
I think, you know, I've always been competitive. I think competitive nature in everything. If you were playing a game of Monopoly, you know, I'm very competitive, you know, that's just my mindset. And for me, it's always about doing something. If I do it, I'm going to do it 100%. You know, I'm not here to take part. You know, I always go sort of full on into that, and that's why I've always excelled in every sport I've ever done. But taking it seriously, I think probably 2012 when I first won the Mr. Wales. I think that was like the first time I actually, I'd won natural shows before that, but I think that was the big wake-up call, like, I can do this, I can be competitive, For me, Mr. Wales growing up, like in this local area, was like a bit of a celebrity. It's like, oh my God, he's Mr. Wales. And entering the UK BFF in 2012 as a novice at 90 kilos, I never in my wildest dream thought I was going to win the Mr. Wales, and Mr. Wales is, so every class winner in the show all get together at the end for an overall, and whoever wins the overall becomes the overall Mr. Wales. So yeah, I won my class and I was going for an Indian, and they were like, hang on, you got to wait till the end of the show for the overall. I was like, I ain't going to win the overall, I ain't going to win the Mr. Wales. So even now I still doubt myself. I still I think we all self-sabotage at some level, I think that's what keeps me hungry. Always pursuing sort of progression, we're never going to achieve what we're chasing, which is perfection, but it's always progression. I think that just keeps me motivated, always trying to be a little bit better, always trying to learn a little bit more. That's just the type of person I am. I crave sort of the next fix, or I crave information, I love learning about things, and me being a better bodybuilder and learning new things obviously makes me a better coach, so yeah, I think that's where it sort of transitioned for me. It was in 2012 when I won the first Mr. Wales.
Yeah, and I suppose even the first show you would have done probably could be quite daunting, because it's a very individual sport. It's all on you and what you've done.
Absolutely.
So what was that feeling like, that first time you've done that first show and going through all those emotions?
Yeah, lots of doubt. Even now, because, I'm a name, I've won a lot of shows over the years. I think, my first loss was in 2018. That's the first time I'd lost a qualifier in 14 years, and there's always going to be a bit of self-doubt there. But I think that's what makes me dangerous as a competitor, because I'll always push and I'll always work, and I will not be outworked. But, bodybuilding, they say, is an individual sport, but it really isn't. I couldn't do what I do without, my support, my circle, my fiance, my friends, my training partners, but ultimately it's you standing on stage. And if you cut corners, and you see it all the time, and it's a very extreme sport, especially the back end, when you get to the show, you're dehydrated, you're on very low food, you've been in a calorie deficit for a long time, you're in the best shape of your life, but it is the back end, extreme end of the prep, show time. It is daunting. I've seen me struggling to walk some days. I've been on 0 carbs, 0 fats for 3 weeks, eating tuna and peas every day for a month leading into a show, trying to run a business, trying to train on top of that. But on stage, it's only you up there, and you can't hide, you can't Photoshop, you can't, and that's why you've got to give it 100%. I've walked away from every show and thought, you know what, I couldn't have done any more, and that's just my ethos.
Yeah, and that hard work clearly is paid into a very successful career. 12-time Welsh champion, PCA and British champion as well. In terms of looking back at your career so far, how proud of you of what you've achieved?
Yeah, people say things to me, and I think it goes over my head sometimes. And even in my home office, when I see all these trophies and swords, it's pretty incredible. I sit there enough to think about what I've achieved, But the last year, 24, was a massive year for me, because that was my first year back after heart surgery, 3 years off the stage, doing things very differently from a bodybuilding standpoint. A lot of pressure on me. People will think, people were like, what's he look like after 3 years? He's been through heart surgery. Has he got the muscle? Is he going to have the conditioning? And not only did I bring my best ever look, I won an overall in the two bros, which is the IFBB, which I've never competed in. So that was another sort of feather in my cap. I wanted to go into that Fed, win that show, win another overall, because I've won overalls now in every single federation. And then to go on to the British, win the British, win my pro card, win the British title, and then win a pro show, all in the same day was unbelievable. And then to have my son born then 5 days later was just, yeah, incredible.
Yeah, it's a really impressive story, and like you said, what makes it even more impressive is the fact that you had to go through that surgery. For anyone who may not know what happened, can you just explain what had happened?
Yeah, so March 22, I ended up going to the dentist, routine scale and polish. And not to put anyone off going to the dentist, but went to the dentist, scale and polish, and when they were cleaning my gum line, somehow oral bacteria got into my bloodstream. The bacteria went down to my heart, latched onto my valve and ate my valve away. And then ended up in hospital, in intensive care a week later, and then basically getting rushed down to open heart surgery. And, you know, to have the surgeons at the bottom of my bed telling me that, you know, that I'm so physically fit and so physically strong, that is the only reason I was able to hold on, you know, for that week. My valve was obliterated, and they were taking me down the next day for emergency open heart surgery, and you know, telling me to get my affairs in order. I had to write my will on my phone. I had to make a video for my daughter who's in private military boarding school, get my family on FaceTime and basically say my goodbyes, because they basically said, look, my surgeon, Mr. Zaidi, said, Neil, you're in a bad way. You know, personally, get your affairs in order. We're going in tomorrow morning. So 6-hour operation, sawed my sternum open. You know, obviously went into the heart, cut the heart open, replaced the valve for a 14,000 pound carbon fibre valve. And then I was in hospital for 3.5 months. I had to learn how to walk again, 20 kilos of weight I'd lost. So it was, for me then, it was like the recovery. And I'd never seen anyone recover like me. And again, going back to that kind of them daily habits that I built through my life, you know, through fitness and the accountability that gives me. I weren't just going to sit there, like, you know, and just see my recovery out. I was taking my oxygen off. I was walking, you know, to the end of the ward. Then I was walking down the corridor, and I was walking a little bit further every day, recovering that a little bit more every day. And that's why I think I recovered so quick. You know, and it was a long process when I got out to the gym. I couldn't even curl a 2.5 kilo dumbbell. You know, so for me, it was like starting all over again. But that mindset and what fitness has brought me, and that competitiveness that I've been through, I could use that and tap into that in post sort of surgery. And that 100% bodybuilding saved my life, because training is a form of stress, you know, and living a healthy lifestyle, that ultimately is what saved me. My body was able to hold on, you know, for them 2 weeks unbeknown, being in heart failure, until they, you know, they got me and they could operate on me. So, you know, that's definitely food for thought for people.
Yeah, and it must be difficult as well, obviously, being someone who's so physically fit and always look after themselves, to have a doctor say, I think they give you hours basically to live before the surgery. Yeah. Was it a difficult process, like obviously knowing that you'd always looked after yourself, to be told that there's something wrong with your body? How difficult was that to take? Yeah, definitely. You know, I think, you know, for us people, bodybuilding, aesthetics is massive. We analyze ourselves every single day in the mirror. You know, people don't just do it for vanity. We do it to, you know, progress and build a physique. And post-surgery, when they give me the news, I thought, this just isn't happening to me. I think before that, I hadn't been to doctors in 9 years. I'm not someone who gets ill, ever. You know, and I just thought, this isn't happening to me. And yeah, it was just crazy. And I think after the surgery, obviously I hadn't seen what was under my bandage, like the scar, and walking into, you know, my bathroom in the hospital and seeing me 20 kilos lighter, a shell of what I used to look like. You know, that was a hard thing for me to see. But yeah, you know, we got back, we built, you know, and it just goes to show that you can overcome anything in life. If I can come back from, you know, heart surgery and literally staring death in the face, because, as I said to you off camera, when they got me in theatre and they put the tube down me, I aspirated fluid all over the room. And they said, when that happens, it's end of life. But I survived. And they put that down to how physically fit I am and how physically strong I am. So again, you know, it goes back to you reap what you sow. If you look after your health and look after this vessel that carries you through life, your physique,
they will look after you. So yeah, it's a crazy, crazy story.
And it must have not only been a difficult period for you, but also family as well, obviously, with a young family, a young daughter, like you said, having to make the video for her. How difficult was it knowing that that could have been the last video that you were leaving for?
Do you know, I think, and this probably might shock people, I think you don't really think of things like that. I was very conscious at the time, I was very aware. I was in ITU, I was on a lot of drugs because I was practically dying at this point, post-surgery. But when they were wheeling me down the theatre the next morning, you're such a victim of your surroundings. You're just going with the flow. I'm not sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to hear the birds tweeting again or the blue skies. It's like your body's programmed to deal in the moment. And you know, I made that video. I've never watched it to this day. I've deleted it. It never got sent, thank God. But yeah, it's not what people think, you know. And I think sometimes, you know, you haven't got time to prepare, like you haven't got time to think about things like that. I just find myself very lucky. Not that I cheated death. I beat it because I feel like, you know, the work I've put in over the years absolutely paid off in that scenario. You know.
And thankfully you're still here to tell the story, obviously, after the surgery. In terms of the recovery afterwards, it must have been really mentally difficult, obviously, being someone that's so used to being in the gym, like you said, lost a lot of weight. How the mental toll of sort of getting back from that, how difficult was that for you then?
Yeah, you know, I honestly think I probably suffer with a bit of PTSD now from that event. When you come so close to dying, it really puts things in perspective. And post-surgery, it was hard. In the hospital, I was in there for 3.5 months. I felt safe, but, you know, I was so detached from, you know, my house, my car, my dogs. Just, you know, I was looking out a window with no view. You know, it was a tough process, and a lot went on behind the scenes, like, you know, little things that I was struggling with, in pain. Because obviously they clapped my lungs, and I had to blow into this machine every single day to try and strengthen my lungs, you know, walking again, and yeah, psychologically dealing with a lot. It was tough, but I think, you know, you're faced with two options in life. You either evolve or you repeat, you know, and if you repeat the same things, nothing will ever change. And for me, post-surgery, especially when I got discharged and I was back home, it was about, right, how can I, you know, and bodybuilding was not even the focus. For me, it was about recovery. Let's get fit. Let's get back in the gym. No, let's try and get strong. Let's try and rebuild and just get back, you know, some kind of general health. That was the goal for me coming out of hospital, and everything just kind of like sort of, you know, just got better, got stronger, got bigger, you know, and yeah, it happened quite fast.
Yeah, and I think it shows your sort of the mental strength you have, because I think most people after going through something like that would think, right, maybe it's time to slow down or reassess what I'm doing, but it was really great to see that you carried on and managed to get back into it.
I think, like, you know, that doesn't make me any better than anyone else or make me any special. I'm just a human like everyone else, but again, you know, you're faced with two things in life. If you're not happy with what you see in the mirror, only you can do something about it. You know, I got clients, you know, all over the UK, all over the world, you know, and same with them. It starts and ends with you. Nobody can do this for you. If you're unhappy with your fitness, if you're not happy with how you look, you know, with help, it takes monumental effort. And, you know, this is why I say to people is, you can buy nice cars, you can buy nice clothes, you can't buy a physique. When you see somebody that's, you know, this fit, healthy, you know, works out, in shape, that's earned, you know, and nobody can do it for you. You've got to do it yourself. So that is the mindset you've got to have.
Yeah, and you talk about having clients here. Obviously you do a lot of coaching now. How much satisfaction do you get from coaching people, seeing those progressions and sort of becoming the best versions of themselves?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And not just from aesthetics either. For me, and any of my clients will tell you this, it's about everything. It's about internal health. It's about externally looking good. You know, you can be in the best shape of your life, but if your cholesterol's not good, if your blood lipids are out of whack, then it doesn't mean anything. So for me, it starts from the inside out. You know, in making sure that, you know, somebody's fit internally. This is why I do blood consultations. I run blood work with Medi-checks. It's about everything as me as a coach. But yeah, you know, a six-pack is impressive and somebody winning a show is impressive, but another client who's lost £100, that's impressive to me. You know, I got a client now who's had, you know, a heart attack and 2 strokes, came to me for help, and we're £30 down. And for me, that is like, I look at clients' physiques like they're mine. You know, I get invested in them. Like, do you mean I can be the best coach in the world, but, you know, they have got to do their part as well. But it's massively rewarding, you know, seeing females get into a new dress size, people getting fitter, healthier, people who are clinically obese, who are absolutely going to face issues down the line if they don't change the trajectory of their life. That is, you know, that is rewarding for me, massively.
Yes, it is life-changing moments for these people, and with the fitness industry now, it's, especially in this age of social media, it's really exploding. You know, a lot of people making videos, posting online. How do you think these people are posting need to be careful sometimes as well with what they're sharing on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and that's the problem you've got now. You know, everyone's an expert, everyone's a coach. You know, you've got to put the miles on the clock, so to say. You know, people do one show and become a bodybuilding coach. You know, you've got to have skin in the game. You've got to, you know, and this is why there's so much misinformation in the industry. There's so much stuff spoken about which I disagree with when it comes to like sort of PED use. I think it's not spoken about enough. I think there's certain bodybuilders out there that speak irresponsibly about PED use. And I think, yeah, it's good for awareness, but if you've got somebody who's young, who's quite irresponsible, and they look up to somebody, they're going to copy what they're doing, you know, which I think is wrong. But I think it's a massive issue full stop, not just in fitness. As I said to you off camera, there's more people now taking anabolic steroids, non-competitive, that means lifestyle, run-of-the-mill people, than ever before. And I just took part of a clinical study now as well to kind of get some data on the amount of people that are doing it in the UK. So that's going to be quite interesting to see the findings of that. But it's definitely something that needs to be spoke about, and the ramifications of, you know, when you take these hormones, especially as a female, there are repercussions. You know, every single side effect in a female is irreversible. You know, and as far as males, you've got to understand what you're doing hormonally to your body, because it'll change your hormonal panel for the rest of your life. And you might be all very well and done when you're in your 20s, but you're not thinking about when you're 35, 40 and you've got a family. You know, that is where it's going to come back and bite you on the ass, you know. So yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be spoke about, and people, I think, need to be aware of what they're posting, definitely.
And just a final question for me, if you were to give a message to people who are maybe looking at this video and thinking it's going to be the first time them getting in the gym, maybe they're worried about going to the gym or just getting started, what would your message be to those people?
Yeah, I would say just start. You know, everyone puts it off, and trust me, nobody's looking at anybody in the gym. I would like to think the gym environment is not that sort of place anymore. You know, and I think people used to like sort of mock like the New Year's Eve, sort of New Year revelers, who are the new starters, and I think them are the ones you should be encouraging. We all were one of those once upon a time. I was a newbie once upon a time, do you mean? So, you know, anyone wants advice, they can always approach me. You know, they can always message me, pick my brains. This is why I put a lot of Q&As on my stories, a lot of free information out there, because I think in fitness, everyone's kind of like, I'm not going to tell you this in case, you know, you use that, or, you know, if you're a competitive bodybuilder, then you might utilize that, and I might see you on stage and you might beat me. It's a very sort of, you know, secretive sort of industry. But for me, I put more free information out than anyone on social media. And people say, oh, why do you do it? Well, why not? You know, knowledge isn't power, it's applied knowledge. You can know all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't apply it to day-to-day life, then it means nothing. So, you know, what use would I be 20 years in the industry, if I can't give, you know, free advice out and free information, and I'll always do that, and I've always been doing that. So, you know, I'd like to think that I've changed probably a lot of people's lives, and I get a lot of messages, a lot of DMs from people who have implemented things from the information I've put out on supplementation, diet, training, you know, and things like that. So, yeah, for anyone starting the gym, just start, you know, ask all the questions, reach out to people, you know, and be that person, because anyone worth their salt will always give you the time of day, like I certainly would. And just do your due diligence and get your information from somebody who's been there and done it, you know, because there is a lot of misinformation out there.
Oh, that's great. That's really interesting story and really useful information as well. So thank you for taking the time to sit down and speak with me today.
Appreciate it. Brilliant, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.